What is up, guys? I'm Luke Bonenfant, and today I'm going to make a video about the Stealth finally. I've spoken about it a bit in a few of my videos, but I thought I should really make a video dedicated to the Stealth because it's about time. Okay, so if you are subscribers already, you know that I have a 1999 Porsche 911, and behind me I have the 1992 Dodge Stealth RT non-turbo, so front-wheel drive and naturally aspirated V6. The same one from the turbo, just without turbos. It's about 220 horsepower, 220 pound-feet of torque, and it's the coolest car that most people who see it will see, like, in a week, or ever. I don't know. I might be biased because it was my dad's, but this car seriously is has a road presence unlike any other car I've seen. I mean, you know, Lamborghinis, Ferraris are cool, they're flashy, but the Dodge Stealth, there's a lot of reasons beyond just the look of it that makes it cool. I mean, my example has 100,000 miles on it, but it was kept in a garage for the entirety of its life. It's never seen the sun for more than a few hours. It's never been rained on for more than a few minutes. This car is in perfect condition, or near perfect condition, at 100,000 miles and being 28 years old. In fact, when I restored it, the paint on it now looks almost as good, if not a little bit better than it did probably from factory. So, my dad in 1992 was working for Bell Labs in Homedale, New Jersey as an electrical engineer working on optical switches. And being a young engineer, fresh out of college, took an interest in the Japanese sports cars of the early 90s. Specifically, the Dodge Stealth and Mitsubishi 3000 GT because of all the cool features that they had. For example, four-wheel ABS was really cool in 1992. It had a retractable antenna, which he thought was really cool. It had a sport suspension mode because the shocks were magnetic. And yeah, the four-wheel drive system was really cool, although he ended up going with the front wheel. Just everything about it was cool. I mean, the 3000 GT had the automated aero, but he liked the look of the Stealth better. He thought it was a little sleeker, as far as, well, what my mom tells me. In 1991, I think December of 1991, he went to a Dodge dealership in upstate New York and test drove a 1992 Dodge Stealth, which is the one behind me, and afterwards he bought it. And he didn't buy the turbo because he thought that it wasn't worth the extra money to put himself in danger every time he got behind the wheel. Because in 1992, the Dodge Stealth Turbo was incredibly quick. Almost as quick as the 911 turbos back then. That was that. He ended up going with the front-wheel drive non-turbo car, which still was pretty peppy for the day, and had all of the suspension gadgets from the turbo, and it had all the cool interior features, and most of the cool stuff that was like necessary, just without the extra power and all-wheel drive. So, and then every day for the next 5 years, he daily drove the Stealth to and from work at the Bell Labs building in Homedale, New Jersey. Now, if anyone has ever seen the Bell Labs building, which is now called Bell Works, it's incredible. I believe it used to be, before the Tesla Gigafactory, the biggest building in America by interior space. It's got like 5 floors of just this giant interior atrium, and it's got a lot of history there. A lot of things were invented there. In fact, the water tower out front is shaped like a transistor. So anyway, so in the early 90s, mid 90s to late 90s, that was what my dad was doing, taking the Stealth to and from that building. And then he had kids, so he bought a Chevy Malibu that he daily drove to the train station and back when he started working in the city. And then in 2010, he unfortunately passed away. I was 7 years old at the time, but from my time with him before that, I remember a lot of instances of us going on drives at night, in the morning, or just occasionally to soccer games in the Stealth. So I sort of grew up thinking it was like the coolest car ever. I knew it was a special day when we were going to take the Stealth out. But after he passed away, in fact, the day he passed away, he came to a soccer game of mine in the Stealth. So yeah, unfortunately after that, no one really drove the Stealth. There were more pressing issues in the household. But yeah, it still stayed in the garage, pretty much untouched, for the next 10 years. And the story starts to get happy again on Thanksgiving 2019. So before quarantine, which feels like 10 years ago. I went up to where he grew up in upstate New York to go to his sister's house for Thanksgiving, and my cousin, who's in his early 30s, has an E92 M3 gray with a manual transmission, and taught me how to drive stick in it. I was really bad, and I feel bad for that poor car. Since then, this year, at this Christmas, I went and I drove it again, and it was much better. Much better on that poor clutch. But when I got home, I took an interest in the Stealth that sort of had been missing for so long. It became sort of a paperweight in the garage for forever. I mean, there was cobwebs growing in the wheel wells, and the battery was dead, and it was just not a good sight for car lovers. And sometimes people would come in and see it and be like, wow, when are you gonna get that thing running again? But yeah, it sat collecting dust, unfortunately, for a very, very long time. But yeah, after I drove a manual, I really wanted to drive a manual again, and it had always occurred to me that one day I would get the Stealth running again, but then I started to teach myself about like the history of the Stealth and what kind of engine it had and what kind of work it would need to get running again, and all of the sort of things that I had overlooked for so long. And so in March, right at the beginning of quarantine, I thought, you know what, I have time, I'm home, I'm not in school, I'm going to restore the paint, teach myself how to do that, restore the interior, teach myself how to do that too. And then when that's all done, I'll get the Stealth over to the mechanic nearby that it had always gone to, and have them do the work to the engine and suspension that it needed. And my mom sort of agreed, like, we don't really, she was like, I just want to get this car running again. I want to see it on the road again, and like, obviously trying to be cost effective in restoring it, but she was like, whatever it needs, do it, because I want it running. And I was glad to hear that, because I knew that at the end of all this, when I got my license, it would be the car that I'd be driving around. At that point, I was not really planning on buying a 911, but it was, you know, it was in the back of my head. But anyway, so after I was done with all the cosmetics restoration of the car, I didn't know how good of a job I did, or if I did a good job at all, because it had just been sitting in the garage. But then one day we had it towed to the mechanic on a flatbed. We got it insured with Hagerty, great classic car insurance, and free 20 miles of towing. And my mechanic is within 20 miles. So we just had a flatbed come, and then we watched it go, and I remember seeing it in my driveway for the first time in 10 years, and I was like, wow, that is the coolest car that I've ever seen. And having it sit in the same place for 10 years, you sort of forget how cool something looks when it's like in the daylight. And just watching it pull away on the trailer, I was like, wow, I haven't actually been able to step back and look at this car in so long. And yeah, that was awesome. I think for the next month, they replaced the tires, every vacuum seal that was broken. They did the brakes, calipers were frozen, so they had to do rotors and pads and calipers, and they did every belt, fan, everything that like had worn down. Oil change, pretty much all fluid change. There was an ECU problem when we got it back, where it wouldn't rev above 4,000. That has since been fixed. We had to get I have the old ECU sitting in the background of most of my videos because it was the last new ECU in America, well, in the world, for an RT non-turbo, and it was pricey, but it was worth it because that was what we needed to get the car running, and now we have the car running. So yeah, it's been a year since then, since the car was finally running with the good ECU and everything, and so I thought, you know, it was time to make a video about this. And I think I may have footage of me restoring it or when it first started. But yeah, the 1992 Dodge Stealth behind me is a very special car to me, and I don't know what it is, but everywhere I drive it, every time I park it, somebody comes up to me and either says, "Oh, I remember that when I was a kid," or "I've never seen one of those before, what is this?" Everyone loves the pop-up headlights, and a lot of people call it the Batmobile. So that's a brief history of my 1992 Dodge Stealth. I love this car. It is my favorite car. Sorry Porsche, but yeah, no, it's my favorite car. Just because every time I drive it, it reminds me of a lot of happy memories. So yeah, it is more than four wheels. And I think now it's time to give a little bit of a interior-exterior go-around of the car. We have a few cool badges, like dual overhead cam, 24 valve. Cool dual overhead cam engine back in the 1990s. These are everywhere. Oops, if only this would show. This little Mitsubishi badge right here. It is a Mitsubishi after all. Got a rear wiper, which is super helpful, although I don't drive it in the rain. It had a light bar, but the light bar doesn't light up, it just sort of looks cool. And this car is incredibly wide. That's one thing that most people just don't assume, or just don't realize looking at these cars in pictures. But it looks like a supercar, it's that wide. The only thing is it's the 90s, so it's really high off the ground. These wheels are awesome. That's about it. That's all I have to say about the wheels. They just look awesome. They look even cooler when it's running. Got this cool like yin and yang thing going on. I guess with both of my cars, because the 911 is silver with black wheels. This car is black with silver wheels. So, oh, and I got silver crests over there, and I've got black crests here. So, or not crests. I don't know. Same thing. You know what I mean. So yeah. Anyway, paint's in incredible condition. Turtle Wax makes this spray wax that's for black cars, and it works so well. I mean, to begin with, I've polished the crap out of this paint without taking too much off, you know what I mean? So it's reflective, except right now it's like if I ran my hand through this, you'd see like all the pollen that comes off. But regardless, it starts to look green. Anyway, I don't even know what to go over with this thing, but it's just like, just look at it. I guess that's about it for the exterior, except for the pop-up headlights. This is one thing, like people my age that haven't really seen pop-ups before, unless it's like on a Miata, like they think this is the coolest thing ever. And I don't blame them, but yeah. This car looks extra sick when the pop-ups are up. Especially at night. Oh, so cool. Whenever I was driving the 911, like when I first got the 911, I drove it a lot. It was also like gonna be winter, and people were like, "When are you taking the Stealth out?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm not taking the Stealth out if there's an inch of salt on the road. You will never see this thing out." The interior especially is like right off the factory line. I don't know how else to describe it. The charcoal thing, these mats are a bit faded maybe, but that's about it. It's like, that also might just be the light. I think they were supposed to be gray. They came gray, but yeah. It's like, pictures don't even do it justice. This is just in perfect shape, everything. The steering wheel is the only thing of the leather that I didn't wash, and that's because I don't know, it's just a weird thing. I feel like if this was my dad's steering wheel, I'm like, I'd feel weird, like, washing all of the history off of it. So, yeah. I don't know, could just be me being weird, but that's it. Oh, okay. I'm actually gonna come in here for a second. Like most front-engined, as I'm learning, cars, the clutch and brake are kind of far from each other, and the brake is further up, so the clutch has to go really far down, and the seating position is odd. It's sort of like a Lamborghini. Well, I had to zoom out for this interior shot because in order to like get this, so like my hand, if I reach forward, is sort of somewhere over here. So you drive on like an angle face towards the center of the car, like a Murcielago. And you've got these dials here that, oh, these are so cool. They tells you like information that's pretty consistent, but it's still cool. Like you got your coolant temp, your oil pressure, and all that. Oh, and it makes that god-awful noise if the door is open. But these interior features, guys, are really kind of crazy for the 90s. first off, you got buttons for horns. That's cool. Steering wheel controls. So the stereo, I've got this little Bluetooth cassette in there. That thing with my and here I've got like glasses, a mixtape I never use, and a mask and some driving gloves. Oh, and my portable charger, of course, because there's no USB in here. But yeah, this has got some crazy modern features. First off, it's got a sport mode. So that is a topic for another day maybe, but this for the driving video that I'll do next. But you know, that makes a massive difference. This car goes from being like Cadillac soft to being stiffer than the 911. I don't know how to describe it. It becomes back-breakingly stiff. So yeah, that's like modern sport mode. It sounds like a modern 911. Anyway, so the window goes automatically down and then just sort of pops back up, but the passenger side doesn't automatically go down, and it doesn't automatically go up, which is weird. But you do have automatic, like, motorized mirrors, so I can adjust these with the motor. Oh, actually, I have to adjust that one because it's kind of out of whack from when I washed it. But yeah, no, I can. That's 1992, guys. So they had automatic window controls. That was awesome back then. It did have cruise control, although I will admit it doesn't work very well. Like, it sort of bounces back and forth on speed and then gives up. So there's that. My mats maybe are a bit faded. Oh, that's my prom day I got earlier today. Maybe a bit faded. On that side, you also have window controls and automatic locks. Also a cool 90s feature. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Like, I wasn't alive in the 90s, but from my mom tells me, these are things that were not commonplace. And I'm sure some of my subscribers that were alive in the 90s will also have similar opinions on some of this stuff. But yeah. Oh, this LCD screen right here. I'm gonna switch back to the other camera. And this whole instrument cluster thing here, center console, is pretty awesome. This takes a bit of a learning curve. I don't know how to describe it on video, because none of these videos are doing this car justice. But this is what I typically use when it comes right at my face and on my legs. It like sucks some of that hot air out from under here. I don't know what it does. I don't know, but I just know that they even gave this guy a nose. Like, Mitsubishi was thorough when they made the creature comforts of this car. And I guess that's really it for the interior and exterior tour and history of this car. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video and want to see more of the Stealth. I've got a few people who have commented on my videos when I've mentioned it before that they really want to see the Stealth. Just let me know, because I'm going to make a video driving this thing. Now that it's nice out, I've really been driving it. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We are going to put the windows down, and now that this car is warm, we're going to take it around the block. We'll give it a little precursor, you know, because I have to drive it around. I don't want to kill the clutch just going up the driveway. So first thing that you may notice is the lack of rattles and creaks and horrible noises that most old cars make. I wish I had a better place to put this. Yeah, this, as far as I'm concerned, there will be no modern car ever made that will feel as solid as this car. I drove a Miata a while ago, an ND Miata, and that thing felt like it was made of plastic. I mean, part of that may be because it is. I also drove a C6 Corvette, and that also felt like it was made of plastic. Mostly because it is. But this car, which was, I guess, a competitor for a C4 Corvette in non-turbo trim, is like, it feels as solid, if not more solid, than the 911. I don't know how to describe that. And you feel the synchros like aligning with each other and going into gear, and it makes a really satisfying like thud when you're in gear. Here. So good. So good. I mean, this isn't like a track car. It's not like the 911 where you can just rip around some roads and do some crazy downshifts. But if you want to like there's a road near me called Ocean Ave where it's just self-explanatory. It's a road that goes straight down the ocean, like through all the ocean towns. And it's like a 35 mile an hour speed limit, and at sunset on most summer nights, you could just roll the windows down and cruise down Ocean Ave. It's always well paved. That is what this car is for. That is what this car is for. And I feel lucky enough that my dad in 1992 decided to pick one of these up, because now it's one of maybe, I don't know, probably less than 100 1992 Dodge Stealth RTs in, you know, almost new condition. Probably less than 5, if I'm being honest. Most of these were destroyed. People really didn't take good care of them, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. A long story short, I really like the Stealth, and I'm gonna start making more videos about it. And I could talk about it forever. So I'm gonna stop myself before I go too far. And in case anyone's wondering, I've been watching the road. I am back at my house. I live in a neighborhood where there's not traffic ever, really, except for people leaving the neighborhood. So I didn't come across any cars or pedestrians, so that's good. But this is my 1992 Dodge Stealth. Story, a little bit of a walk around and overview, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you in the next video. Hopefully about the Stealth, hopefully driving. Anyway, you already know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Hi, camera.